Three, two, one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talk About It Tuesday with Angelica, and this is Improv. Today, we have a very special guest from the D&D Club,
Super
Adam
special.
Scott.
Super special.
You're super special. Yeah, you're here. Super special. Spotlight
it.
on you. It's your special day.
No pressure. I'll try to be entertaining.
You are. You're actually very entertaining, which has been exciting to have you here because you're great on social media. You have a huge social media presence. You have this platform where you talk to people, introduce them to different aspects of D&D, steer them in a direction to get them figures, to get them started, different information, now helping them with different entrepreneurial tactics and getting themselves started in business. So yeah, you are pretty special there.
I appreciate it. It's being a teacher. I was a classroom teacher for 15 years, and I started social media, the social media life probably around the time my daughter was born, so around 4 years ago, and 4 or 5 years ago. And I was just like a way to get involved in my hobby, to stay involved in like the stuff I liked, because it was easy and quick, and I could do like a post really quickly. And then it has gradually turned into something that has become a full-time job where I run various, I was an economics and business teacher, US history teacher for most of my career. So that like all three of those things really form how I look at the world. And I've also been a huge role-playing fan. So using that medium to try to teach people the things that are important to me, the core values that are important to me as just a teacher and a father and a husband. We've really found ourselves focusing a lot on things like character values, like integrity, accountability, teamwork, things that are timeless across disciplines. And we work a lot with children, but we also work with adults. So it's something that the blessings of COVID have been interesting. And so now connecting online with people has been it has been something that happened in my life and has happened for my team. And we're just feeling really fortunate that we're able to connect with people and help people. We couldn't do this a couple of years ago. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of been like a bittersweet moment, the ability to like go into this virtual realm and widen our scope of like people we can help, people we can communicate with.
Absolutely.
It's been pretty interesting and awesome.
Absolutely.
And as far as what you do, can you describe for the folks who don't know what is the D&D Club? What do you do?
Oh man, that's a good question. My employees asked me that too. Like, what is it? It's like office space. What is it that you do here? Our core offering and core service is, I try to state it as simply as I can. We teach people how to play role-playing games. Okay. And through that, there's a whole host of skill sets and concepts we work on with people, but really that's what we do. I started running games I was laid off. I got laid off unexpectedly we were transitioning. So my family was transitioning from the East Coast to the Midwest to live near family as we raised our daughter, and hopefully we have more kids. But we were living near family. And so I found myself working with my father-in-law in his business, which is a light construction business. Like, I'm a classroom teacher. I don't call myself an academic because I feel like that's a job where people that they don't work for a living do. They just sit in an ivory tower. No, they do. They work, but like they don't have actual world experience. So I came, and the butt of the joke is on me, because I came to my father-in-law's business with like, I've taught business for so long and I've taught economics. I know how to do this. And he was like, yeah, well, here's a paint sprayer and here's a bunch of oil that's flammable, and you can go out on a deck and you can go spend 12 hours out there in the heat and figure out if you can do it. And I actually, like, in terms of learning the hard knock lessons of the real world, like I blew up one of his vans because we didn't follow a safety protocol. Yeah. We left a bunch of like flammable stuff in there. I was tired at the end of the day, but I was still manager on duty. And so yeah, this thing caught fire. Like, fire department was up in smoke. We have it on video somewhere. But it was a moment where I learned about my presuppositions and some of the arrogance that I had toward working with people from different walks of life. And so that was an important lesson. So we eventually parted ways because I was not well suited toward construction business, being someone who,
because it wasn't a chapter in a textbook.
No, it wasn't. I was like, I can't assign homework on this. We have to keep things in order. So after that, I went into the financial industry for a very small time. It was just like, I need money to take care of my family. I was able to talk my way into a job with some financial professional.
Wow.
So he let me manage accounts as like a very low level grunt, which was, I learned a lot from him. We did not have a great personal relationship, but I learned a lot from the guy, and I learned a lot how business works. And so I tried in all these experiences to learn. I've been learning about my own failings, and then that eventually led me back to the classroom. And the reason where this is all going, I started D&D club because I was laid off unexpectedly. He was changing his business around and was like, I think we're going to part ways. And I was like, I need money. And I was just like, I have a skill set, and it's a weird skill set. I need to use it. So I just put an ad up on Facebook where I said, you pay me to run role-playing games. Come to the bar and give me $5. And one weekend we had, I think I started with 5 players. And then the next weekend we had 10. And the next weekend we had 15 or 20. And I had to have one of the guys in my game. I was like, dude, can you run the table? I'll split the cut with you. Like, it just started happening.
Yeah.
And then we got to the point when COVID was right before COVID hit, we had like 50 or 60 people that would meet in this bar every weekend to run games in person. And it was so cool. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. And like, I got to meet all these really cool people. And then when COVID hit, we had a team meeting where we said we were able to basically, I can't believe how hard people worked for almost no money. Like, everybody was we weren't making a lot of money doing it, but we were just trying to bring people together. And when COVID hit, we were like, we need to figure out a way to provide this experience digitally. Like, we knew there was things out there like Roll20, which is an online platform, and ways for people to interact online, but really it's about the personal element, at least for me. So I'm like, if we can do this and bring everyone online, we're going to change the game for us and see where this goes. And then we started running adult games. I think we've run over 900 events online for adults. We have 900? Over 4,000 clients. We have a lot of youth clients. We work a lot with a lot of kids, and it's been a wild year.
What a ride. Oh my gosh. From a bar, 5 people to now 900.
We were on the poverty scale in my family when I lost my job. Like, there was such a low income level. And it was really humbling because I was like, man, it's really hard to make money when you actually have to put your money where your mouth is. And then we learned as a family, like, I had to change a lot about my professional approach. My wife is incredibly supportive. She's actually the business person in our family. Everything that's been a good idea that's happened is, I think 99% of those have been her. Like, she's like, why don't you try this? So she's
the brains behind the outfit.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. I'm obsessive about working, but she's the one with the ideas.
This is the plan. This is the strategy behind.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cool.
I don't know how I convinced her to marry me. I lucked out.
You have this skill set that's different. And what's cool about your background is you have that economics, that history background, which definitely see elements of that in D&D, but there's also this creative element that goes into D&D as well. How did you get started in that realm of D&D? How did you know this was your thing?
First off, I'm just so glad you invited me on to talk, because I try to not get too deeply into this stuff when I'm on my social media, because I want that to be, I feel like my social media is not about me. It's about what I can provide to people. But I really enjoy getting to talk about this kind of stuff because it's fun. And as a teacher, no one ever asks you, like, when did you become a teacher? Why did you get started? So I appreciate you taking the time.
Today's the day. I'm super excited to know.
So, okay. So I have been I don't want to say obsessed, but I have been fascinated with mythic and fantasy storytelling since I was a kid. And one of the first memories I have was I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, and my dad and I were walking through a mall, and I remember watching on TV, and they had the TVs with the movies projected. It was an old movie store before everything like is all just streaming. There was Star Wars playing on it. And I remember it was like the battle scene from A New Hope. And I was just like, this is awesome. And so then my dad, we went home and we watched Star Wars. He just showed me the battle scenes. But ever since that moment, I really have just become very enthralled with myth and the idea of, I think it's that our collective, I feel like there's something inherent in being a human being and telling a story that lets us get at deeper truths about ourselves and about other people. And that's really important to me. I was really into Star Wars for a very long time. I still love Star Wars, but my interest has kind of expanded now too. But let me hold on. Sorry, I'm going off the rails. Okay, so
no, you're there. You're there. This is a great origin story.
Okay, so I was a little kid, And then I got really into Star Wars. And then in middle school, I got my first role playing book. I saw it when I was at Borders, when they were still in business.
Mhm.
And my dad was like into sports, and I played sports, but I was like, this was a really strong part of my personality. And
Mhm.
so I got the role playing book, and I remember filling out little index cards, creating characters. I had
Oh.
hundreds of these index cards for like this stormtrooper and this new Jedi and this stuff. And I would sit in my room obsessively in middle school for hours on end. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm building worlds. I'm creating stuff." But I didn't really have anyone to play with. And like, I tried to play with some of my friends who were all into video games, and like, we had micro machines that we set up, and we didn't really get it. And they didn't get it. They were like, "Well, how do you win?" I'm like, nobody really wins. You just work together to tell a really cool story. And as time went on, I kind of was in and out of role playing for a long time. And I always had this idea in my head of like, I just want to be able to go somewhere and pay someone to do this. Like, I just want to be able to play when I want to play, because I want to live this story. And that's kind of where I'm at now. Is I was like, well, I'm just going to do this and see if we can create this world for people. Because like, to me, my core thing with role playing is, you can't role play without actually playing.
Mhm.
Like, there's merch. You can spend a ton of money on a
Yeah.
hobby, and actually many people never play. They just buy all the stuff.
Oh, wow.
Like, you need to play. You need to actually do the activity of role playing, because that's when you discover something about your character. And if you play long enough, and your DM is, I think a DM should push the players a little bit. I don't think it should be just like, let's play in a world where we can just run around and experience this alternative avatar. Like, I live for moments where I can make a player feel something different about themselves or about their character. A good example is, I had one player in a game that I ran when I was at the bar, who was a longstanding group. The player was a veteran, military veteran, and they were in the game and in real life. They had another player who was related to them, and in the game they were kinsmen. And I could tell this player was really focused on honor and valor and heroism and courage.
Mhm.
And there was a moment where their clansman went down in the game world, who is their real life relative.
Oh.
And so I really kind of pushed hard. I was like, we're going to go after this moment to see how this other player responds, because his family member, real life family, was in danger. And
Uh-huh.
it was almost a moment of catharsis where he had a chance. I mean, this guy served in combat. He had a
Mhm.
chance to interact and, I think, live some of those behaviors that he wanted to get out through that role play. And he role played well. He saved his clansman. He rolled dice well too, had help that, but like, it was a moment where things could have gone wrong.
Yeah.
And he really was able to almost step across that fourth wall and kind of live into that moment in real life a little bit. And I could tell afterwards that it was like it affected him
Mhm.
beyond just like, oh, cool, we won. There was like a catharsis there. And that's the kind of stuff. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah. That's incredible. And part of that is part of what's interesting about D&D is that from the improviser's perspective, so much of it is unscripted. So you have that opportunity to have that catharsis, that therapeutic aspect to the role play that you're contributing. So much of ourselves is thrust into
Mm.
this story. And how cool is it that like your little kid self who wanted to be a hero, a Jedi hero, gets to be something like that in D&D, or like a spin-off in some other tabletop game, and live and role played in that world, and or things that happened in your life that you
Yeah,
couldn't really play out. You get to play out in this pretend world that becomes so real to these other people.
it
And it's
does.
so cool that you get to facilitate that. I didn't know so many people just started buying. For me, it was I play in D&D, but I bought after finding that community. So it's
Yeah.
cool that you're facilitating that community for people who have been like thirsting for this thing to come together. That's so awesome.
Well, I appreciate it, because I think it's just I think there's something deep inside us.
Mhm.
And I think our current culture we have layered on so much crap in our current culture where we cannot truly connect as people. And one thing I was always, when I taught in the classroom, I would always tell students, like, look, you see what, like, here, what I am, like, look at me, I look different than you. I have a different experience
Mhm.
than you. I'm going to try to teach you the truth as I've seen it through reading documents, and we're going to explore information. And if I say something stupid, you let me know, and we're going to get to the bottom of this. Every perspective in the classroom is going to be brought to light, so we can weigh evidence and ideas. the same thing happens in role playing, and it's much more intimate because every person brings a lot of themselves to the table.
Mhm.
And I think role playing allows us through that improv back and forth to really get at something that I think we don't have a lot of practice at anymore. I think we're afraid to talk to each other and have real conversations. And I think role playing is a way for us to say, well, we're not really doing this. We're role playing. It's like, yeah, I mean, everybody just like, I play a barbarian or Aragorn every time I play a game. Cause that's like my power fantasy is I wish I could be a barbarian or Aragorn. And everybody brings themselves to the table, unless you're like playing for a production where, I shouldn't say everyone, most people bring a very close version of themselves to their avatar.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm rambling. Go ahead.
No. You're not at all. It's so true. You get to be who you want to be. Play out those fantasies. And also have that level of communication, because we have play to kind of shield us from the reality of what we're trying to say to the other person or who we really want to be. We're facilitating our true selves through play, which is so cool. And you've talked about a couple things that you've remembered, a few moments that have happened through the facilitated play and role play. Is there a favorite moment? Is there a moment that stands out in your mind?
Well, other than the ones I've mentioned, I mean, I think the really cool thing is when we have parent feedback. There's a couple. So there's different dimensions to it. There's one where we have parent feedback and they let us know that like their child has changed in a positive way. And there are many students that have different learning challenges that we find that we get to work with, which I think is really cool. And especially when those parents are like my student who could never sit still and never pay attention to anything. I think one of the highlights, one of the best moments is when a parent said, my student no longer wants to play video games. They want to pay you to run games. And I was like, oh, I know we're doing something right. And we're like, we have positioned ourselves as like a premium service provider. So our service is not cheap. So for parents and students to invest in that really makes me feel like I believe that we have to provide value. I don't believe in taking money just because it's popular. Like I really want to impact people's lives. And we found ourselves as kind of this premium service provider, because if we don't, we'll have too much. We can't run our games. We have too many people that are coming in. So we got to make it manageable. I only have so many people that work for me. So when you hear stories that like, my kid is giving up video games to play with you, I'm just like, that's really awesome. The other awesome moment, this is a totally selfish moment that I'm going to talk about, but this has been some moment I've really, really enjoyed. So when I was at my previous employer, I had a conversation with them. I needed a small raise because we did not have money. We didn't have any money. And I was like, I need to have a raise. I have a lot of experience. This is, I'm a provider. That's my job. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. So I was like, I need this. Like, I don't have any more time to give. And my employer, the powers that be said, you don't get into this for the money. You don't do this for the money. And I knew exactly how much that person made. And it was obscene how much that person made. And to say that, and the thing is, in teaching, there's a lot of people that tell that to teachers. And I think that that's wrong. Hey, you don't get into this for the money. It's like, well, no, we get into it to help kids, but we need to be able to take care of our families.
Right.
So the most satisfying moment professionally was to be able to tell that person, I'm turning down your offer because I've created my own job. And I now pay people more than they were paying me, which I think is like that's the incredible. It feels great because I have people who have quit work at Amazon as a side job. I had a teacher who no longer teaches. They just work for me full time now because they're like, this is freaking awesome. And there's this guy's so talented. And the feedback I've gotten from my team working with students and with adults is like, this allows me to leverage my skill set in a way I never thought possible. So it's almost an addicting form of business and teaching, because it's like, we're actually helping people, we're leveraging our whole selves. And it's just really satisfying. Like, it really, really is I love it. I love every day. My day doesn't feel like work.
That's awesome. It not only like, it's so cool to hear that too, like to be able to change not only like the community that you're playing with, that you're serving essentially, but to change like that interior community, the people that are participating with you, are on that journey with you. That's so huge. That's so cool.
It feels good, and it feels good to see people who are really good at doing things receive positive payback. I had a kid, not a kid, an employee who's a younger person than I am. They were able to achieve a financial goal because of the work that we've worked on together. And like, that's really motivating for me, because that helps change that person's life much more deeply than just like, oh, here's a few bucks for running a game. It's fun. Yeah. Their life is now changed. And that, as I get a little bit older, that to me is much more important than just like, let's entertain ourselves. Like, I always say, like, let's get somewhere when we have a conversation, when we do something. Let's move beyond just like, how's your day? Like, let's move somewhere.
Let's be productive.
Yeah. We'll just learn more, get something out of it besides just pleasantries,
Talking about getting something out of it.
Sure.
What advice, what wisdom could you bestow upon someone who's maybe starting their own adventure, starting their own way in the world as far as like creative entrepreneurship, as far as becoming their own person as a business owner, as a person who is trying to do something creative, but they're stuck in that built system?
That's a good question. Through much trial and error, and through sticking through some ideas that make sense to me, I think the core thing that comes to mind is you have to, especially in the kind of any type of thing where you perform, or because D&D, there's a lot of performance where it can become about, look at me, look at how good I am. So one thing I emphasize is, it's not about you. It's about the person on the other side. It's about the client. It's about the participant in the activity, whether it's the audience or the client who's learning how to do a skill or receiving graphic design, whatever it is. It's about them. And then once you have that idea, I would also say, don't quit your day job, because there's this, I think there's a lot of young people that see on the internet, like, oh, I'm going to live the 4-hour work week. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to be, big balling and just throwing money around and all this stuff. That is not the reality. I mean, maybe a few people can make that happen with a lucky stock play or something, but that is not the reality of being an entrepreneur. I screwed up so many times, but every time I screwed up, I tried to learn like what didn't work and how can we try to do something a little bit different. So putting your ego on the back seat, understanding that clients come first, making sure that you build one piece at a time. Don't quit your day job. Don't go all in right away. Build a skill set was really important. And there's a guy named Naval Ravikant that has a great, he's a like tech investor guy. But he has this whole podcast where he talks about wealth creation and business creation and capitalism. And one of the things he talks about is from a guy actually named Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert. So it's super confusing because I'm Adam Scott. And
just a flip-flop.
Yeah, just a flipperooski. So he talks about this idea of a skill stack or a talent stack. And that's something I find myself coming back to as an entrepreneur of, if you are in the top 25% of 3 different skills, your value, because you create a niche for yourself. You are now unique. And every time you can stack another skill on top of that, you become even more unique. And the more unique you become, the more your value goes up. And that I am seeing that play out in both a client service direction. When we work with clients, the more unique we become and the more skilled we become and add different skills to the stack, the more we can charge, because the more unique the services that we provide. And as a business person, that is, if I have more money, I can have more resources to hire more people and improve our product, and keeps me motivated to keep going. So, there is also an aversion to people working hard and putting in effort. And I don't understand where that comes from. I work more now that I'm an entrepreneur than I did when I had a 9-to-5. I work all the time. I work 6.5 days a week. The only day I don't really work is Sunday. I work from 7. As soon as I get up, I check my phone and check all my messages, all the accounting stuff that came through the night before. I am literally on call from 7 a.m. to usually 11 at night, because we serve all sorts of time zones.
Wow. Yeah.
And if that's not for you, then you can go work for someone else. But if that is for you, then you can walk your own path. And the best feeling in the world is signing your own checks. It is the most empowering feeling, because now I can just say whatever I want. And if I say stupid stuff, then nobody works for me. It doesn't work out, and then I have to shut up. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy the ride.
So yeah, enjoy the ride. That's so many great tips. Super interesting. I'm going to have to look into that podcast too. That's
Yeah, it's on. I'll send it to you. It's a YouTube one. He's a really smart guy, Naval Ravikant, because it's like it is an attitude shift that a lot of, and I when I worked with students in the classroom, there's an attitude shift that has to take place about the idea of capitalism and business in our society. And I see a lot of young people in the classroom, they're being taught that there's this inherent evil in capitalism. And look, there are problems in our world, and I don't deny any of those. Like I am very aware that there are problems in the world. And I know that people who have skills are going to be rewarded by the market. And then you have the ability to help people. So you've got to figure out a way to live in that market driven world to serve people. Because I look at myself as a servant of my clients and of my employees. My team, they can task me with anything they need help with. And that's an open policy. I'm like, you need me to do something, just put it on my to-do list and I'm doing it, because that's my job, is to serve my team and they serve our clients. And that's how markets work. It's not this, there's this idea in our world about like, oh man, if everybody could just have stuff, it'd be awesome. It's like, well, who do you think is going to make this stuff? I worked during COVID. I was the first person on campus to get COVID. I got COVID. Wow. I took 2 days off. I mean, I was quarantined, but I took 2 days off of work, and I taught from my house for 4 or 5 days to finish out quarantine. And then I was back at school. And up until I got COVID, I was running like 4 or 5 miles a day, teaching every day, got COVID, went home, took a bunch of Advil. I know everybody's story is different with it, but it was like, I went to work and I did my job, because kids expect people to follow through. And I think that we need to make sure that in our culture, no matter what you're doing, you've got to follow through and be willing to put that effort forward. Sorry, I'm getting preachy. I'm going to stop.
No. It's so true, especially when you talk about kids, you know, that facade of like the adults got this, they got our back, we can trust in these adults, they're always going to be there for us, and it's that responsibility that I think, this is my perspective,
Sure.
super subjective, but I think that's what helps you continue on every day, like having that background with kids who need you, and knowing that and being almost rehearsing that with them consistently through your job. And now moving forward with something that you built, to have that idea, that background, and people rely on me. Like I'm essentially a parent to everyone, to all these people.
The more people you put on your back in life,
yeah.
the more driven you have to be. Otherwise, you're going to let people, I can't walk away from this now. I have people who have depend on what I do as a source of income. And I have kids who they've been doing this for over a year. We have adult clients who've been doing this for over a year. Like these are their friend groups, and we've developed that. So I think when you take on more I've learned a lot about taking on more responsibility, because that's not the way I was wired to the degree that I am now. And it's really been humbling to see the impact that it has, and then having to rise to that commitment level. It's challenging. I mean, it's something that it did not happen overnight. And I've had a lot of support. I have a great team that really, my team works really, really hard to, nobody ever complains. Everyone is always focused on helping people. And I think the more we do that in our society, the better end results we get.
Oh, thank you. That is a great way to end your advice or words. That's
my rant.
No, those were great words of wisdom. Definitely. I know when I listen to your streams, when I listen to what you have to say, I take a lot away from it. So those rants are very important. So thank you for your rants. Now we are going to play a little game. It's new. Talk about choices.
Okay. Lay it on me. What are we doing?
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple questions. You're going to have to make a couple choices, and just go with it. No wrong answers here. Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm in.
Okay. Cool. So, first, your options are: do you enjoy your tacos typically at normal seasoning, or do you like to have it super spicy, all the spice?
Now that I'm older, probably my tummy is a little more sensitive. So less spice, normal spice.
Okay, normal spice.
I'll go with normal spice.
It just what was there stays, remains.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Regular spice.
Next question. What do you prefer on the huge? A taco or a burrito?
Actually, I do eat tacos a lot more regularly now. I used to eat burritos, but it is more about the tacos now. I am much more of a taco fan. We actually had tacos last night.
Wow. How
Yeah.
convenient.
Good timing.
What would you say swayed you towards the taco as opposed to the burrito? I'm sure our fans are dying to know.
Yeah, I think that there's to me, I like to be able to see the composition of the food, and I feel like the burrito kind of hides that. And so with the taco, I can see like how much protein I'm getting, and then are they just filling it up with beans, or am I getting some steak in there with some, other stuff? So yeah, it's I like to know what I'm getting.
Transparency, very important.
Transparency in the taco game is really important.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, cool. And the last question that we have for you is, what is a hot dog? Is it a taco or is it a sandwich?
That's actually a good question. I don't know if a hot dog is either one of those things. I'm gonna go sandwich. I'm gonna go sandwich because of the bun element. I feel like you got to have a tortilla to go taco, or some tortilla substitute. Like the lettuce wrap sometimes is the tortilla substitute. Yeah, but I think that the bun is more of the sandwich definition of the sandwich.
So you are saying a hot dog is a sandwich. Remember, you're being recorded and it's going to be on the internet forever.
I will stand by that. A taco. No, a hot dog. What the hell? A taco is a sandwich. No, a hot dog is a sandwich.
Okay, thank you. And that wraps up Talk About Choices. Really hard, right?
I struggled through that, but I'm glad we did it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And before we end our interview, what platforms are you on? We talked a little bit about it, but where can we find you? Do you have anything coming up that you want people to see?
The best way to follow me is through my username on Instagram, the.dnd.club. And that's where I kind of do most of my communication. I have other socials and everything, but we're recording on 9/11. So instead of like shouting out anything, I just want to say that, make sure you keep the people who are first responders in your mindset, because those are the people that do the job that we don't have to do. So there's all sorts of stuff I could promote, but that's probably way more important. So follow me on Instagram. You'll keep in touch with that. But if you are interested if you have money to give or have time and energy, keep those people in your mind.
Thank you for that message to end with. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Adam Scott, for joining us and answering all these questions and giving us such words of wisdom. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
You can catch Talk About It Tuesday every Tuesday at This Is Improv, and I will see you next week. Thank you, everyone. Bye.